Something wicked this way comes. And Halloween's over, so it's gotta be the Nintendo Switch 2 chip in its full glory. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Hope you're all doing fantastic on this wonderful day. And if it doesn't feel wonderful for you, reset, refocus, reattempt. Maybe it can be wonderful yet again. We're talking all about the chip from NVIDIA that is very much intended to be used for Nintendo Switch 2, as Digital Foundry has dropped a mega article, a massive video ensemble showcasing what this chip can do and why they fully believe with 99% certainty that it's going to be in the next Nintendo system. This is a big deal that they're dropping a huge story and that they're like putting their name and brand behind it. If you don't know, Digital Foundry is very popular for all of their tech analysis and tech recommendations, as well as just their like tech know-how and prowess and knowledge. So them putting their stamp, it's a big deal. And maybe it means that an announcement is not far off. Why else would they be putting this out there? Maybe a big leak, maybe a big reveal, who knows? But whether or not you have a Switch 1 or 2, games in 4K or 480, you will need a memory card, and that's why the Lexar Play card is the #1 card you can get for your Switch. Make sure to click the link down below to check out their memory cards from 128 gigs all the way up to 1 freaking terabyte, which stores as many Switch games as you have. I'm almost sure of it. They're great people over there, and this gets the SwitchForce seal of approval, so check them out. But I want to kick things off by saying, what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Sometimes I forget that, but I did not forget about the feel-good story for the day. Nintendo is partnering in Japan with an elder care company to supply Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to a bunch of nursing homes. I think this is so awesome. First of all, how cool is it that your grandpa or grandma might get Mario Kart and a Switch in their nursing home? Second of all, I want footage of these bad geriatric dudes and dudettes battling it out in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I hope they get the course booster pass, because there's a lot of nifty courses and a lot of extra characters, and I'm telling you, some old dude wants to be Diddy Kong, and he can do that November 9th, because that's when Wave 6 and Diddy Kong comes out next week. But this is really cool, it's really sweet, and it continues Nintendo's like trend of trying to make games and systems that appeal to all ages. I don't know if these people will be able to play Mario Kart with much success, but hopefully they have a fun time doing it. In the end, that's all that matters, and I just think that's a really cool thing. Nintendo, you should supply Switches to all the nursing homes across the world. Old people everywhere should be blessed by Mario's maniacal smile. Actually, it's more like Luigi with that MK8 death stare. Let's talk Switch 2. This is a really sick deep dive from Digital Foundry, and I'll link to it in the comments down below if you want to go check out their perspective. I'm going to summarize it for you, break it down, make it simple, and give you the goods that are most important, which is right here. Digital Foundry is investigating and discussing and dissecting the NVIDIA Tegra T329 chip. This is a chip that has been heavily rumored to be for Nintendo Switch 2 for a while now, but now Digital Foundry is putting their stamp. They do say right off the bat that they cannot say with 100% certainty, but they feel about like 98-99% that this is a chip for Nintendo Switch 2. The reason is because NVIDIA already has a T234 chip, but they made a special custom version of this chip, the T239, for a console. The T234 is too big, the T234 needs more oomph, and the T239 is going to be modified and still has some of the custom bits that we know Nintendo Switch's Tegra chip do have. And so you can line these up and say, why else would NVIDIA make this? Well, it's got to be for the Switch 2. But the more interesting part of this whole discussion is what this chip can do. And so Digital Foundry went and built a PC that was able to replicate very nearly the specs of this chip to see how a Switch 2 will actually perform, what it's actually capable of. And they found some pretty darn swanky results. We know from Bobby Kotick's leaked Activision email that he said, hey, Nintendo's shown him and demoed him the Switch 2, or at least given him the specs, and hey, it's going to run like last-gen hardware, talking about PS4 and Xbox One X. But based on Digital Foundry's tests, they're saying that, hey, what's going on here is going to punch a league above that. Yes, it might be in line with that, but some of the special sauce they're using and some of the advanced architecture within this T239 chip is going to allow them to do better. And so they do believe that the leak and rumor about Nintendo running the Matrix Awakens demo on Switch 2 is legit. They were able to achieve really nice 1080p visuals with 30 frames per second consistently, sometimes punching closer to 60 frames per second. They ran things like Fortnite and were able to get all the Unreal Engine 5 beauty, all the lumen and nanite, and all the ray tracing. They were able to get really, really strong looks, and the approximate computer model that they were using had 4 gigs of RAM, and they're fully expecting Nintendo Switch 2 to have 6, 8, or even more gigs of RAM than that. So the performance will be even better. They talked about how this allowed for ultra fast loading, and so they also believe that the rumor/leak of the Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild demo running at 4K 60 is legit. Like, they could actually get and draw in all that with the ultra fast loading and be able to handle a big open world streaming so nicely. Now, they're talking about a 4K image as well here, and they say, like, it's not going to be glorious 4K. The way that the DLSS works is upscaling. It's this algorithmic technology that allows them to take like a 540p resolution, bump it to 1080, take a 720, it takes the resolution and it makes it through its algorithmic magic look better. And this approximate T239 computer that they built was working wonderfully for that. It wasn't making gorgeous, crisp 4K, but it was making nice looking 4K. And they said they think for Switch users, this is going to be looking good. They ran things like Death Stranding's intro, which they say causes a high level of GPU stress, and it worked quite well. It was always above 30 and sometimes was able to get even higher, and that's a very graphically intensive game. I know that Death Stranding is last gen, but again, we can't be thinking about, brand new Spider-Man 2. We gotta be thinking about some of the best looking games from last gen, some of the PS4 titles, and even crossover titles that could look just as good on Switch. And when you think about it that way, I say hot diggity dog. If we're getting stuff that looks as good as Death Stranding running solid 1080p with a consistent frame rate, those cinematics are beautiful. And allowing Switch 2 to do that, this T239 is chef's kiss. I'm loving the sound of that. And basically, all in all, Digital Foundry is very impressed. Digital Foundry says that they think this thing is going to perform and work better than people are expecting. And that's huge news. That is fantastic, because I think typically we're used to Nintendo kind of coming in under, right? Like, they're like, oh, we're going to make a great system. Oh, it really feels like they're flipping the script here, and that the Switch 2 will be the first Nintendo system in a while that actually is like, okay, we're ready to battle. I've been singing the praises of this decision for a while now, saying acquiring all the third-party franchises that can't run on Switch to now run on Switch 2 will be a massive boost for Nintendo and will change the layout and the landscape for Nintendo gamers, and honestly, for me as a Nintendo creator. It's going to be so sick. And while we may not have the most perfect performance that you can expect from a PS5 or a modern graphics card, you're going to get something really good. And this Ampere-powered T239 chip with extra gigs of RAM, it's going to be really, really sweet. They went through a whole bunch of games and how they looked, and you can zoom into the screenshots, you can watch the videos. It looks very, very impressive. I'm not a graphics snob, so for me, I find this to be perfect. If you're someone who's more visually attuned and can tell the difference between like 1440p and true 4K, and you get in there with the details, maybe you'll say, oh, I wish they could have done more. But honestly, DLSS is going to be so integral and important to this system. And Digital Foundry says as much, that with DLSS running perfectly, and if they're able to really push the effects of that algorithmic technology, the Switch 2 is going to be a sexy system. And the fact that it's going to be able to have ray tracing and all of these features from Unreal Engine 5 is quite remarkable. Thinking that Nintendo Switch can take advantage of some of the latest industry technology, that is going to put things in a different ballpark for us the next 5, 6, 7 years. What'll be really interesting is to see how Nintendo first party uses that. Because all the discussion here is on like, oh, how does Death Stranding run? How does Fortnite run? How does the Matrix Awakens runs? But what about Mario, Zelda, Metroid Prime? I think Metroid Prime 4 is being saved for a cross-gen title because it's the one Nintendo franchise where the art style lends itself to taking full advantage of technology like this. Are we really going to get sweet ray tracing in Mario Odyssey 2/New 3D Mario? Are we really going to get the most amazing nanite lumen technology in the next Mario Kart? I mean, that would be cool, but remember, Nintendo prioritizes art style and aesthetic over pure graphical power. So I wonder how their games will take advantage of this stuff. Maybe in unique, surprising ways, or maybe not as much as we'd like. I do wonder and worry that maybe Nintendo games will not get as big of a bump as some are thinking they will. Because how do you take those graphics much further considering the games already look phenomenal on Nintendo Switch? Clarity, yes. Detail, yes. Fast loading, yes. But I think it's going to be more from the performance side than the resolution side that we're impressed with Nintendo's output. I think you'll see, wow, like this Zelda world runs, loads, plays better. This game 60 frames per second and just singing like a charm. I don't know that we're going to see like brilliant 4K visuals that blow us away from first party because it's all about the art style. Unless they decide to do something totally different, and I do hope Nintendo takes chances. The one thing I will say is that this boost in power could incentivize Nintendo to experiment with a new IP that maybe does use a more graphically intensive look and feel. Nintendo is willing to take risks. They've given over the reins to some of their younger employees, as evidenced by Mario Wonder, and how evolutionary that is and how quirky, crazy, and modern it feels. Maybe some young team within Nintendo EPD could work on a more traditional art style, traditional graphics game that just blows us away with 4K. The possibilities, though, are huge. The T239 chip should be what's inside Switch 2. Digital Foundry stamps it. They're loving the performance. It's working great. It looks beautiful. And this tells me that something is coming around the corner soon. Digital Foundry doesn't just do things for no reason. A big leak, a big announcement. I bet we see something coming up here about Nintendo Switch 2. And I want to know your take in the comments down below. Like I said, there's a link in the description. Definitely check it out if you're interested. For now, though, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you guys lots. Thanks again. SwitchForce out.